What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. Now today in this video we have my quarter-final predictions for the Europa League, and if you do enjoy this video and you want to see more, be sure to smash a like on this video, subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss a single upload. I'm very excited for this. Before we get into the quarterfinals, let's have a little look back and see how I did for my second leg predictions of the Europa League round of 16. So kicking it off, we had Dynamo Kiev against Chelsea. I predicted Chelsea would win 2-1 away at Dynamo Kiev, winning 5-1 on aggregate. They actually smashed it and won 5-0 away, winning 8-0 on aggregate. So although I got the right result, the score was quite a way off. The next game, Salzburg against Napoli. I predicted that Salzburg would beat Napoli 2-1 and Napoli would go through 4-2 on aggregate. Salzburg did beat Napoli, but they went one better. They went one better and won 3-1, sending Napoli through on a narrow 4-3 aggregate. The next game was Krasnodar versus Valencia. I predicted that it would be a 1-1 draw, sending Valencia through 3-2 on aggregate, and that is what happened. It was a 1-1 draw, sending Valencia through 3-2 on aggregate. Arsenal versus Rennes. I predicted a 3-0 win to Arsenal, sending them through on a 4-3 aggregate, and it was a 3-0 win to Arsenal, sending Arsenal through 3-0 on aggregate. And I predicted for the Benfica Dynamo Zagreb game that it would be a 2-0 win, sending Benfica through 2-1 on aggregate, and it was very close. Benfica actually won 3-0, sending them through 3-1 on aggregate. Now the next one, one of the only ones that I really got wrong, like completely wrong, I predicted that Inter Milan would beat Eintracht Frankfurt 1-0, sending them through 1-0 on aggregate, and it was actually the other way around. Eintracht Frankfurt beat Inter Milan 1-0, sending them through on aggregate. So right score, wrong way round. The next game, Slavia Prague versus Sevilla. I predicted that Sevilla would win 2-1, sending them through 4-3 on aggregate. Slavia Prague actually won 4-3. It was 2-2 in the actual game, so I was only one goal off. But then Slavia Prague won 4-3 overall in extra time to send them through 6-5 on aggregate. So I was one goal off with my score prediction there. And then the final game, I predicted that Villarreal would beat St. Petersburg 2-1, sending them through 5-2 on aggregate. And what do you know? Villarreal beat St. Petersburg 2-1, sending them through 5-2 on aggregate. So in amongst there, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 8 results, right results, and then 1, 2, 3 correct scores. So that out of 8 games, I'm happy with that. We're moving on now to the quarterfinals of the Europa League. Kicking it off, we have Arsenal versus Napoli. Now Arsenal finished top of Group E on 16 points, and they lost Now, Arsenal finished top of Group E on 16 points and lost none of the games in the group stage, but they lost both of their away games in the round of 32 and the round of 16. First against Bartik Borisov and then the next against Rennes. However, 2 3-0 home wins saw them through each tie now into the quarterfinals. Napoli finished third in the Champions League Group C behind Liverpool on goal difference. If that was the other way around, Arsenal could have potentially been playing Liverpool in the Europa League at this point, but Napoli dropped out on goal difference and they beat Zurich home and away in the round of 32, and they beat RB Salzburg 4-3 in aggregate after losing 3-1, as I mentioned earlier, in the away leg. Now, Arsenal have to have a good first leg to give themselves like a chance to go through, as Napoli are really strong at home, and Arsenal's form away in Europe and also in the league as well is not that great. So for that reason, because Arsenal have to go for it, they have to get goals, and I think in doing so, they will leak that precious away goal because Napoli are really good. They are a great team. They are one of the favourites to win the tournament. I'm going to go with an Arsenal 3-1 win, purely on the basis because I think a 2-1 win won't be enough for Arsenal, and obviously with Arsenal going for it as hard as they can, they're going to try and get 3 goals if they are to concede an away goal to Napoli. So I'm going to go with a 3-1 win to Arsenal. I was thinking about 2-1, but I'm going to go 3-1. Give my boys the benefit of the doubt. The next game is Benfica against Eintracht Frankfurt. Now, Benfica finished third in the Champions League Group E behind Ajax and Bayern Munich. They beat Galatasaray 2-1 in the away leg for the round of 32 and then went through after a 0-0 draw at home in the second leg. And they recovered from 1-0 down away to Dynamo Zagreb, winning 3-0 at home. So it's clear that Benfica are much stronger at home. Now, Eintracht Frankfurt, along with Chelsea and Villarreal, are the only teams left unbeaten in the Europa League. And if you include Barcelona, the only teams left unbeaten in Europe this year. Frankfurt finished the top of their group, winning all of their 6 games. And they're the only team left in the tournament to do so after RB Salzburg were knocked out by Napoli. Now, obviously, Eintracht, to get to this stage, they knocked out 2 Champions League dropouts, beating Shakhtar 6-3 on aggregate and going on to beat Inter Milan 1-0 in the away second leg, beating them 1-0 on aggregate. So, like I said, that's 2 Champions League third places out already at the hands of Eintracht Frankfurt. Now, similar to Arsenal, Benfica will want to get the home advantage going into the second leg, and obviously Benfica are really good at home. They're top of the Portugal Premier League. It wasn't too long ago they obviously won 10-0 in their domestic league at home, but I think the standard is relatively different. There are some good teams in the Portugal Premier League, such as Porto, Sporting, Braga. They're decent teams in there, but Eintracht Frankfurt are also fourth in the Bundesliga, and I think you'd say that the Bundesliga is a higher standard than the Portugal Premier League, not by too much, because there are some dross teams in the Bundesliga as well. And I think, obviously, Eintracht Frankfurt are a very, very good team. They're on very, very good goal-scoring form, but I think Benfica are going to get the home win here, and they certainly will have to, because it's going to be tough to go to Frankfurt. I think maybe Benfica could go to Frankfurt and get an away win. Not an away win, an away draw, perhaps. And I think that's what they'll be going for, but I think Frankfurt have the attacking power, and obviously they'll want to get an away goal. I think they can do it. I'm going to go for a 2-1 home win to Benfica. Now, the next game is Slavia Prague against Chelsea. Slavia Prague, they're in excellent domestic form, but obviously the standard of play isn't as high in their league compared to others. They finished second in Group C on 10 points behind Zenit St. Petersburg on 11 points, and they smashed Genk 4-1 away from home after a 0-0 home first leg, and then they had an absolutely insane tie against Sevilla, winning 6-5 on aggregate, after ending 2-2 in both legs, with them scoring 2 goals in extra time to bounce back after Sevilla scored the first goal in extra time. And that is absolutely insane. However, unfortunately for them, they draw Chelsea, who are looking very, very strong in Europe. And at this point, they may see the Europa League winning the whole thing as an easier route, believe it or not, to the Champions League next year, rather than top 4 in the Premier League, because teams like Tottenham and Arsenal are looking more like favourites for that there. So I think they obviously are going to focus very, very much on this. And Chelsea obviously finished top of their group, Group L, and remain unbeaten in the Europa League. And despite some questionable home form, losing to Everton and almost losing to Cardiff, they continue to dominate the Europa League. They beat Malmo 5-1 on aggregate, and they absolutely smashed Dynamo Kiev 8-0 across the 2 legs. And I think this should be a simple enough tie for Chelsea over both games. But I think the first leg may pose a few hiccups. I think if Slavia Prague, like the other games, if they're going to get something from this tie, I think they're going to have to go for it at home. I don't think they're going to be strong enough, though. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Chelsea, which should be, given that they then have to go to Stamford Bridge, I think that should be the tie, more or less, sort of, for Chelsea, sending them through to the semi-finals. But you never know. 2-1 to Chelsea is my prediction, however. And the final game, probably the closest one to call, I would say, is Villarreal against Valencia. And the reason it's harder to call, on paper, you might think Valencia should win that. They dropped out the Champions League after a good stint, but Villarreal are still unbeaten in the Europa League, and they've been in a good run of form for the past month, and they're actually 4-2 up against Barcelona with like 5 minutes to go, but then Messi scored a free kick, Suarez then scored a few minutes later, and it ended 4-4. They beat Sporting 2-1 on aggregate in the round of 32, and they comfortably beat Zenit at home and away in the round of 16, and they're playing some really great football, and the Europa League will definitely be the main focus for them. Valencia themselves are also in good form lately. They finished third in the Champions League Group H behind Man United and Juventus on 8 points. And they breezed past Celtic in the round of 32 and escaped a shock exit from the competition when they got a late goal against Krasnodar, seeing them through in the round of 16. Now, Valencia are the favourites to qualify here against Villarreal. They are a very professional team. They are a very good team. And they do draw a lot of games. They've been winning more games lately, though, putting them in good form. And at the time recording this video, they still have to play Real Madrid, who they might get a decent result because Real Madrid have been up and down a little bit. They've been struggling. Villarreal, like I said, they got the 4-4 draw against Barcelona. Santi Cazorla is still playing some excellent football. I think that basically Valencia will be trying to look for an away goal here and not really any or too much of a deficit going into the second leg. And I think they're going to get it. They're very, very good at drawing games. They've drawn more games in La Liga than they've won and lost combined, drawing 16 out of 29 at the time of recording. And I think they can do it again here. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw between Villarreal and Valencia. And I think Villarreal at home will do everything they can to try and stop that, try and get quick goals, quick play like they scored 4 against Barcelona. They'll want to get 2 or more against Valencia to try and make this tie a little bit easier for them. But I think Valencia are very, very good, especially at teams to a similar level of them, drawing the game. And I think it is going to be a 1-1 draw here. So that is going to do it for this video. If you did enjoy it, the old in-depth analysis, all that stuff, leave a like on it, subscribe today to join the full 90 gang, turn on notifications so you don't miss a single video, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.